Hi, this is Whishup. Thanks for coming for another card reading. Last month, I separated out the astrological information and the card reading because I had a lot to say about the astrology, and I didn't want to load up the video for those of you who aren't as interested in that. And I got about half the number of views on the pure astrology, which was lengthy, as I did on the regular card reading. So, excuse me, it's clear to me that not everyone who's interested in the card reading is also interested in the astrology. So when I have a lot to say, like I did last time, I will keep it separate. But the rest of the time, like this time, I'm just going to throw in that sprinkling of astrology, like if you're a regular visitor to the channel, you're probably used to. So this month we're going to have, or this moon phase, I should say, we're going to have a tarot reading with the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. It's an absolutely gorgeous deck. And I'm also going to have some oracle cards. I'm going to have one from the Angel Answers deck here, and one, actually two, from the Brownies Oracle, because see here it's a double deck oracle. You get the main oracle card and also these little rhyming cards. So I thought I would like to combine the angels with the mischievous brownies and give us a chance to cover all of our bases on the oracle. But let's talk a little bit about the astrology. The main thing I want to say about this Gemini full moon coming up is that it is a great time to renegotiate traditions among peers. Conversation is going to be highlighted, and you should be able to work out something advantageous if you're willing to keep at it, stay optimistic about your chances of working out a good solution, and really make sure that you understand what the person is saying, rather than dictating a solution right away. With the full moon in Gemini, it's highlighting relationships among peers. So that could be your siblings, your coworkers, people in your community with which you share a comparable position. So what could happen is you could have authority figures symbolized by parents or bosses who want to come in a situation where something is being renegotiated and try to dictate an answer. Or that might be you if your children are having a dispute about something and they're renegotiating the terms. You might want to dictate an answer to cut short the squabbling or the debate. That probably isn't going to be as good an answer right now. It'll be better to let it play out to create a win-win situation. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to be happy with all aspects of the new situation, because the new situation is probably coming about as a result of expansion. Your family could be expanding, so now we don't do the traditional Thanksgiving dinner anymore. The family is expanding, so we don't do our gift exchange the same way. Somebody's circumstances have changed at work, and now the vacation calendar is getting upended. So it's upside down. So what's important is if someone else is changing the terms of something that has been set up around your schedule, your real estate, your health, your property, your routine, that you have a counter offer ready for something that would make it better for you. There could be traditional parts of this setup that you're not totally happy with. And now, while someone else is making suggestions, is a great time to get your needs addressed as well. If nobody has made any suggestions, but there's something that's really been rankling you for a while, some part of a traditional setup that's been taken for granted, and you'd really like to see a change, now is a great time to suggest that. But be open to the fact that other people will probably come back with a counter offer. Well, yes, but, or how about we do that and we do this other thing too? If you can be flexible with that and work with your peer groups, whatever that means in this situation, you ought to be able to come to a solution that is going to be satisfactory for both sides and provide improvements for both sides. And what I see here is, in most cases, I'm sorry for continuing to clear my throat. I'm still getting over something. But in most cases, I see this as being a situation that is the fruit of expansion. It's a high-class problem. Maybe somebody's gotten a new job in a new town and now travel arrangements have to change. That's also a very Gemini thing. And the sun is about to enter Sagittarius. Jupiter is now in Sagittarius. And Mercury has just gone retrograde in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a position of Mercury's detriment, meaning it's not very strong here. So it's not going to cause that many problems. And to be honest, it's not that unhappy in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is a fire sign. Sagittarius has to do with learning, education, exploring, travel, all things that Mercury is very satisfied with. So having the sun about to get into Sagittarius and having Jupiter just entered Sagittarius, all of these very mercurial aspects are lit up in Sagittarius. So even though Mercury is retrograde here, it's not that upset about it. Now, as Mercury retrogrades, it will go back into Scorpio. So it will, dig up some stuff. But it will be going direct again by December 7th. And by Christmas, December 25th, it will be out of its shadow and moving completely forward. So I don't think this Mercury retrograde has quite the potential to throw as many snags as sometimes it does. It is still going to be important to clarify things, but really with this full moon in Gemini, conversation is highlighted anyway. You're probably going to feel inclined to double check with people, to chat with them, just to make sure you're on the same page. You're probably going to feel inclined to do that, so it's not going to feel like such an extra headache to do that during this Mercury retrograde. So that's what I want to say about the astrology. Look for renegotiation of traditional terms or things which have been in some way turned into a routine or a tradition or a habit, and look for renegotiation and look for opportunities to make sure you get something out of that renegotiation too. It should be something where everybody has something to gain in the final agreement. And as I said, if you are in an authority position, try not to institute a final determination if people are renegotiating. And if you have an authority figure above you, try to give them optimism that if they sit back and let you and the other people involved work it out, you will come to a far better decision than having one instituted or imposed upon you. So that's that. Let's get into the cards. I decided I wanted to do the oracle cards first. So let's start with the Angel Answers card. Recovery. Okay, maybe I'll kind of balance this here. And the Brownies card is Defiance. Okay. So when we get these two cards together, and I will read the Brownies poem in a minute, the idea, I think, is that you are recovering yourself. And if I tie this to the astrology, there's a sense that there's something that you gave up or compromised at some point in the past that either doesn't suit you to compromise anymore. Maybe it made sense at the time, but it doesn't make sense now. It's not what you feel like doing. And you are going to sort of, in that phrase, take your power back, which I'm not totally in love with that phrase. I get what it means, but it's almost like somebody stole your power from you, but it's more like you just didn't feel like using your power. You didn't assert yourself. So they didn't exactly take it, so to speak. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that. But what I want to say is that recovery, if you look at this character in here, here she is sitting, very sort of peaceful, and there's this figure, this angelic figure behind her, and there's recovery, and there's a sense with this light at her heart that she is coming back to herself. There is some part of herself which she is reclaiming or getting back in touch with or feeling stronger and healthier about. And that means that now we have this defiance. There's a certain desire to be willing to take up a battle that maybe you gave up before. Maybe there's something that you decided it's not worth fighting about in the past. And now, with this opportunity to renegotiate, you're like, I think I want that back. I think I gave that up too quickly, or I gave it up at the time, but I don't want to give it up anymore. I feel a sense of reclamation, reclaiming some sense of autonomy, and in making sure that whatever situation you're involved in with and I see it having to do with your home, your property, your workplace, your day-to-day routines, the things that surround you on a daily basis, your nearest and dearest circumstances and people. This sense of wanting to carve out some part of that agreement that is a better fit for you. And I see that in this. You see these brownies, and they're all coming down this path, and they're heading toward this, what looks almost like a hidden tunnel coming out of a structure, like they're sneaking in somewhere, like they're saboteurs, or they're getting in there to undermine something. Of course, you can think about that in a really, terrible way, like someone is undermining me. But I think of this as all coming from you. I think it's tied to the recovery. And what I think it means is that you can subtly, quietly, or under the radar, reclaim things that you wanted under the guise of this overall renegotiation. Well, the vacation schedule changed at work, and it used to be this person would cover this day, this person would cover this day during the holidays, and now that's all up in the air because somebody has a new baby and, some other situation that probably has to do with expansion, changes in circumstances, surprise turns of fate. And now, while everything's upside down, you can quietly slip in there and get back something that you lost, or claim something that you have wanted, or feel a sense of greater empowerment and greater health. If I look at where the stars are during this full moon, what we could call the ascendant of this full moon is Virgo, because Virgo is the constellation on the eastern horizon at the time of this full moon. This full moon happens just after midnight, about 20 to 1 a.m. On the 23rd. So I think the idea is we're looking towards something that's a healthier setup, something that is an appropriate level of giving and service, but not being walked over. So I feel like that's what's happening here. There's a sense of recovery of your own strength, and it's helping you draw new boundaries for how much do I feel like giving in this situation? Do I have to cover this other person's entire week vacation? You know what? I have an opportunity to do something good for me. Maybe it's a getaway I want to take, or some kind of change I want to make to my home or my routine. And I could use the time to cover that or to work on that for myself. So maybe I renegotiate. They want to change their vacation schedule. You want to grab some time to work on something yourself. And you're able to sort of quietly, I see this defiance as being sneaky, right? I see you recovering yourself. See how still she is, how meditative, how like Zen she looks. I see this as you being able to claim something you want in a way that is very Zen, that is very kind of under the radar. You don't have to make a big fuss about it. So again, we have this idea of this optimistic, cheerful negotiation, not looking like you have to set down real hard boundaries and be like obstreperous about it or be combative about it. You can just kind of Zen figure it out and cheerfully kind of sneak in the things you want, and other people will be open to it because they're going to be doing the similar things. So I kind of like it. Oh, let me read you this poem. There's always a little poem. Oh, there we go. The knowing will for squalls prepare, while winds are light and skies are fair. So the idea is that the time to prepare for trouble is when you're not in trouble. So right now, while you're in this sort of recovering phase and you're feeling better, hopefully, and you're feeling more optimistic, if there have been parts of your situation that have caused you trouble in the past, like, gee, I wish that hadn't been the case, now's the time to get it set up better for yourself in the future. So let's get into the tarot cards. This is a beautiful deck, the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot deck. It's a Lo Scarabeo deck. Often these are artistically adventurous, which I like about them, but it does cause you sometimes to reinterpret the cards that you get. So let's see kind of what we've got. It's got a different take on the cards. Okay, so this is the Four of Pentacles. It's upright, but you see how this Four of Pentacles, we have this sort of princess or queen looking character in the castle. And here's the upside down version, where it's a very different looking character, like this sort of green faced character. So there's the idea in this Four of Pentacles of the mirror world, of how you see yourself and how others see you. And what do you really have? And what do people think you have? I have called the Four of Pentacles card in the traditional Rider-Waite a card of holding the bag, because sometimes you're in the position of wearing the crown and you have to guard all these coins, and other people are happy to have you do that. They put these responsibilities on you and then resent you for it. You know, they turn you into this gatekeeper or guardian or authority figure and then resent you for doing that. So it can be a bit thankless to be in a Four of Pentacles position. And this is sort of emphasized, I think, in this card, where it's upright and she just looks unsure, because it's as if she's looking in the mirror and she doesn't see herself as very gifted. She's not totally happy with the hand she's been dealt. So everything to us, perhaps on the upper part, looks beautiful and secure and wonderful. But underneath the surface, how does she feel about that? Is this the security that she wants? And I do think this could relate, because it's Pentacles and fours relate to secure things like property, secure schedules and routines, you know, the things that you set up. And that's kind of what we were talking about, being upset. So are you satisfied with the way things have been set up? Is everybody satisfied with the way things have been set up? Here we go to, oh, all right, Seven of Cups. So you can see we have this almost Alice in Wonderland looking figure. And here are all these rabbits in holes. And it's the idea that Seven of Cups can be a card when we think of like the moon in Pisces, we think of this fantasy element. And this is the idea that you could be chasing rabbits down rabbit holes. You know, the idea that you could, as you're trying to catch one rabbit, then there's another rabbit hole, then a rabbit pops up somewhere else, and you can never quite catch the idea you're chasing, or because it's cups, you can't quite catch the feeling you're chasing. Sometimes Seven of Cups, I'm trying to keep the glare off the cards, sorry about that, has to do with things like excesses. It can do with mastery of your own desires, like sort of like your vices or your little pleasures, or the things you want that are desires that feel out of your control. And the idea that you could be chasing these desires down a number of different rabbit holes. I think that's kind of interesting because Alice gives up and goes to sleep. And it's then that she sees the white rabbit again and begins chasing him. So I feel like the idea is if you're chasing your desires because you really want the bunny and you just keep chasing the bunny like a whack-a-mole game, it just keeps disappearing down these little rabbit holes. And I think the idea is to know what you really want. And I think that's connected here. You have a secure setup. There's something that's quite secure and quite established. Whether for good or ill, it's established. But is it really what you want? Does it represent what you want now? It could be that your desires have changed somewhat. And so you feel like it no longer reflects your true desires. And really, sorry, I'm just going to keep trying to shadow this a little bit. The area of mastery of desires is what the Seven of Cups is all about. Because when you master your dreams and desires, they become beacons for you. They become inspirations. They become the visualizations of the things you want and you can go for, like like guiding lights. This is my mission. It can really be like that. But when you don't really know what those things are, or when they've changed, you can flop around a lot and not really know what direction you're going, and not feel like you're in charge of your desires, but feel like you're being pushed around by your emotions. One moment you want this, the next moment you want that, and then you're not quite sure what you want. And it looks like you could be in a period of emotional flux, of needing to reaffirm your desires or review your desires, because things in this steady state are not necessarily satisfactory to you. So let's look and see what we've got here. Okay, so here we have what would be the queen, I believe, of swords. And here you can see she's doing all this writing, and there's a wind around her, and there are pages whipping everywhere. And if you can imagine her writing a novel, she's writing it at the speed of sound. She's going so fast through this material. And I think the idea is not to be too hasty or to feel like you have to write the story immediately. It's interesting because we have cups, pentacles, and swords. So we have a bit of a balance of suits here. And they seem to be saying that things are a little slow moving at the time, which is fine. And that you have an opportunity to focus most on your emotional state, on your wellness, you could say, like that recovery card, your desires, your dreams, your wishes, and you don't have to nail anything down in black and white. And in fact, while Mercury's retrograde, which it is until December 7th, and it's not out of its shadow till December 25th. You don't have to redefine everything. I think you're just asked to take a long, good look at the way your internal desires and dreams are fitting or not fitting your current tangible reality, your routine, your schedule, the things around you. Are these two things in conflict? Because the Queen of Swords has the double-edged sword, and this sword makes determinations and also carves away things which don't fit. It is sort of a minor arcana justice card. So I think it is asking to examine this imbalance between the person you are inside and the things that are going on the outside, and try in a gentle way, in a peaceful way, and possibly even in an under the radar way, to make some adjustments. And you don't have to do it in a loud and public declaratory way. You don't have to draw really hard lines, but I think you're going to be sort of wiggling your way along with other people who are going to do the same thing. So don't feel bad about it. Wiggling your way into something that is a better fit for the person you are now, because the rabbits you were chasing before might not be the same rabbits that you're interested in now. And so whatever this tangible situation is just might not be a good fit. And you're asked to not to necessarily cut it out or be the executioner, but to finesse your way through this. Not necessarily to declare so loudly and publicly, but to finesse your way through this. Because right now the planets are very much in favor of that negotiated, strategic, optimistic, friendly approach, and you should be able to get something that you want and that feels more true, feels more authentic to who you are now and what you want and the way you'd like to live. So that's it for now. Please let me know what you think. I may do some other readings coming up. I have so many great decks. When I look at them, I just keep thinking I want to share them more. Because I love looking at them, and I assume that other people like looking at them too. But yeah, thanks very much for your views. Thank you very much for your comments and for your likes. It is always extremely appreciated. If you'd like to get a personal reading with me, there is information with my email address on the channel's About page. You can email me and we can set it up. I can do everything from a little brief read, a little 3-card or snapshot read, up to a full geomancy shield spread, if that's something you're interested in. So email me and let's chat about it. And until next time, if you're in the U.S., have a very happy Thanksgiving. No matter what you're doing or who you're doing with, enjoy yourself. And I hope you feel very grateful for whatever it is that surrounds you. And until next time, rock on with your bad selves.